Daniel found the receipt before he found the truth. A hotel bill, folded twice, shoved deep into the pocket of Melissa's coat. 2 nights, a suite, paid in cash. He didn't say anything that night, he just watched her. The next morning, over coffee, he slid it across the table. "What's this?" Melissa barely looked up. "A work retreat. I told you about it." "You didn't." "I did, Daniel. You never listen when I talk about work." Her voice was calm, too calm. She stood, rinsed her cup, kissed his cheek like nothing happened. "I have a donor call in 10 minutes. He let her go, but that night he opened their joint bank account, just to check something, just to be sure. What he found made his stomach drop. 6 deposits over the last 2 months. Each one is over $10,000. Then withdrawals, almost matching, days later, gone just as fast. He scrolled further back, further. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. 2 years. This had been going on for 2 years. Then he saw it. A wire transfer dated 3 weeks ago. $85,000. Colton Family Foundation. Reimbursement. Daniel stared at the screen. He didn't work for the foundation. He'd never signed anything for the foundation. He didn't even know what reimbursement meant in this context. But Melissa did. Melissa worked there. Melissa's boss, Richard Colton, ran it. His phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. "Running late tonight. Gala prep. Don't wait up. Love you." Daniel looked at the transaction again, then at his own name listed as the account holder. Someone had used him, and he was going to find out exactly how deep it went. Daniel didn't sleep. By 3 a.m., he'd printed every statement going back 2 years, highlighted every unexplained deposit, every matching withdrawal. A pattern so clean it had to be deliberate. Money in, money out, never sitting long enough to raise a flag. The next evening, he told Melissa he had a late meeting. Instead, he parked across from the Regency Hotel downtown. At 8:40 p.m., she walked out. Richard Colton's hand rested on the small of her back. Daniel's grip tightened on the wheel, but he didn't move. He just took the photo. When Melissa got home past midnight, he was sitting in the dark kitchen, laptop open, statements spread across the table. "Explain this," he said, sliding the printed photo toward her. She froze in the doorway. For a moment, the mask cracked completely. "Daniel." 2 years, Melissa. $85,000 through our account. Explain it." She sat down slowly, hands shaking. It's a foundation business. Richard needed a clean account to move some things around for the gala budget, donor matching. That's not how nonprofits work, and you know it." He leaned forward. "Is he the reason you're never home?" Silence. Then, quietly, "Yes." Daniel felt something in his chest go cold and still. "How long?" "It doesn't matter." "How long?" 14 months. Her voice cracked. "But Daniel, the money. I don't fully understand it either. He just told me it was temporary, for tax purposes. I never asked questions." "You let him use my name." Daniel stood. "I'm done asking you. I'll find out for myself." The next morning, he pulled the foundation's public tax filings, donations reported versus program spending on the orphan homes it claimed to fund. The gap was staggering. Millions unaccounted for. He was still staring at the numbers on his laptop that evening when the doorbell rang. He opened it, expecting a delivery. Instead, a woman he'd never met stood on his porch. Elegant, composed, but with tired eyes that had clearly been crying recently. "You're Daniel," she said. It wasn't a question. "I'm Karen Colton, Richard's wife." She held up a thick folder. "I think we need to talk." Daniel let her in without a word. Karen sat at the same kitchen table, set the folder down, but didn't open it yet. She studied him for a moment. "You found the transfers," she said. "The account under your name." "How do you know about that?" "Because it's not the first account Richard's used, just the first one that wasn't his own family's." She finally opened the folder. Bank records, vendor invoices, printed emails. I've been collecting this for 3 years. Daniel sat across from her. 3 years? I started noticing renovation invoices for the orphan homes, 6-figure jobs that never actually happened, contractors that don't exist outside a P.O. box, donor money moving through shell vendors, then disappearing. She slid a page toward him. Richard's good. He never lets the money sit anywhere long enough to get flagged. He needed clean, boring accounts to pass it through. People with no red flags. People like me. People like you. Karen met his eyes. Melissa offered him exactly that. A husband with perfect credit, no debt, no scandal. Nobody looks twice at an architect. Daniel exhaled slowly, the pieces locking into place. So this whole time I wasn't just cheated on, it was a laundering account. I'm sorry. And she meant it. He could hear it. He pulled out his own statements, laid them beside her documents. 2 years of his data, 3 years of hers. Together, it wasn't half a picture anymore. It was almost the whole thing. We can't just confront them, Daniel said. They'll deny it, hide the money, and lawyer up in an hour. I know. Karen's jaw tightened. We need proof they can't wiggle out of. Something public, something federal. Daniel's phone buzzed on the counter. A calendar reminder, synced from Melissa's shared account. Colton Family Foundation Holiday Gala, 3 weeks. All major donors. Press confirmed. He turned the screen toward Karen. Then that's where we end this, he said. In front of everyone. Karen looked at the date, then at him, something hardening in her expression. Then we don't have much time. The next 3 weeks became a quiet war. Daniel and Karen met twice a week. Coffee shops, library corners, never their homes. They cross-referenced every transfer, every shell vendor, every falsified invoice. Karen had internal foundation records Melissa didn't know she'd copied years ago. Daniel had the clean paper trail of his own account, untouched by anyone's attempt to cover it. One night, sorting through Melissa's old work laptop she'd left logged in, Daniel found messages she'd forgotten to delete. Texts between her and Richard, casual and damning. Transfers done. D won't notice. He never checks that account. He screenshotted everything. Karen matched wire transfers to a shell company called Meridian Property Holdings, registered to an address that turned out to be a UPS store. Same company, 6 different renovation invoices, 0 actual renovations at any of the orphan homes. This isn't just Richard skimming, Karen said one afternoon, staring at the total. This is systematic. He's been doing this since before I even suspected. Daniel finally made the call he'd been putting off. A former college classmate, now with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Agent Paul Whitfield listened for 11 minutes without interrupting, then said one sentence that made Daniel's pulse spike. This matches a pattern we've already flagged on an open inquiry into charity fraud. You just gave us the missing piece. Whitfield was blunt about what came next. Documents help, but we need something undeniable, a live admission, ideally recorded, something that can't be explained away in court. The gala's in 3 days, Daniel said. Then that's your window. At home, Melissa had grown strange, softer, almost desperate. She cooked dinner 2 nights in a row, talked about starting over, putting this behind them, even suggested counseling. Daniel played along, gave nothing away. It cost him more than he expected. The night before the gala, she touched his arm gently. I know I hurt you, but we can still fix this, Daniel. Nobody else has to know. He looked at her, really looked, and felt nothing but the weight of the folder locked in his desk drawer. You're right, he said quietly. Nobody else has to know. Yet. Melissa smiled, relieved, misunderstanding him completely. Daniel's phone buzzed with a message from Whitfield. The team will be positioned nearby tomorrow night. Get him talking. We'll do the rest. He put the phone away and looked at Melissa across the room, already planning her outfit for tomorrow's gala, the biggest night of the Foundation's year. She had no idea it would be the last night of her old life. The ballroom glittered with everything stolen money could buy. Crystal chandeliers, a live string quartet, tables of donors who had no idea their generosity had been quietly gutted for years. Daniel walked in with Karen on his arm. The effect was immediate. Melissa's smile faltered mid-conversation. Richard's jaw tightened from across the room, champagne glass frozen halfway to his lips. "Daniel." Melissa appeared at his side fast, voice low and sharp. "What is this? Why is she here with you?" "Networking," Daniel said flatly. "Isn't that what tonight's about?" Richard recovered his composure and crossed the room, all charm and teeth. "Daniel, didn't expect to see you. And Karen," his eyes flicked to his wife, cold for half a second. "I thought you weren't feeling well tonight." "I'm feeling much better now," Karen said. Richard's smile held, but his eyes didn't. "Daniel, walk with me for a minute. Business talk." He led Daniel to a quiet hallway behind the stage, away from the noise. The moment they were alone, the charm dropped like a mask sliding off. "I don't know what you think you know," Richard said quietly, "but you should think very carefully about your next move. I have lawyers. I have friends on the board, in the DA's office. You have a joint bank account and a grudge. That's not the case."
"Then why does it sound like you're threatening me?" Richard stepped closer. "Because I've built this foundation for 15 years, and I am not going to let an architect and my soon-to-be ex-wife burn it down over some misunderstanding about reimbursements." $85,000 isn't a misunderstanding, Richard. Richard's smile turned thin. "You have no idea how deep this goes, and you have no proof it goes anywhere near me. Every transfer runs through your account. If anyone goes down for this, Daniel, it's you." Daniel felt the small recorder in his jacket pocket, live the entire time. "That's interesting," he said calmly, "because you just admitted there's something to go down for." Richard's face changed. Too late. He realized his mistake in real time. "That's not... Save it for the FBI." Daniel turned and walked back toward the ballroom. On stage, Richard was announced minutes later for his annual donor speech, forcing the smile back onto his face like nothing had happened. He gripped the podium, launched into his usual lines about hope, children, your generosity changing lives. Daniel walked up the side steps before anyone could stop him and took the second microphone. "Before you all write another check," Daniel said, voice steady, carrying across the stunned room, "I think you should know where the last few years of donations actually went." Gasps. Richard's smile shattered. Daniel read the numbers, the shell company, the fake invoices, the dates. Then the final line, aimed directly at Melissa, standing frozen near the bar. "And the account it all passed through, under my name, was opened using my wife's access to hide it from everyone, including me." The room erupted. Phones rose. Reporters near the back began typing furiously. Then, from 3 points around the ballroom, FBI agents began moving toward the stage. Richard shoved past a waiter, sprinting for the side exit, straight into Agent Whitfield, who was already waiting. "Richard Colton, you're under arrest." Across the room, Melissa's legs gave out. She grabbed a chair, sat down hard, staring at Daniel as her name, read aloud minutes earlier beside Richard's, echoed through 200 phones already recording. She looked at him, mouthing one word, "Please." Daniel didn't move. The last thing he saw before security cleared the stage was Karen standing perfectly still in the chaos, watching her husband get handcuffed in front of the entire city's elite. She didn't cry. She just looked, finally, relieved. By morning, it was everywhere. Foundation CEO arrested at gala. Millions in donor funds missing. Melissa's name sat 2 lines below Richard's in every article, tied to signed documents, falsified reports, her own signature on paperwork she swore she never read closely. The foundation suspended her within hours. By the end of the week, she was formally terminated, her access revoked, her name handed to investigators building the case against Richard, and possibly against her. Daniel filed for divorce the next morning. He didn't wait, didn't soften it, didn't let a single conversation reopen a door already closed. Melissa showed up at the house that evening, mascara streaked, voice raw. "He used me too, Daniel. I didn't know how bad it was, I swear." "You knew enough to let it run through my name for 2 years, Daniel said, holding the door only halfway open. "You knew enough to lie to my face every single day. I love you. You loved what I gave you. Stability, cover, a name nobody would question. He set the folder of divorce papers on the porch table between them. "Sign these, Melissa. It's the only honest thing left for you to do." She didn't argue. She signed. Across town, Karen filed her own papers that same week. No scene, no confrontation, just a quiet, final signature after years of suspecting and finally knowing. She called Daniel that night. "How are you holding up?" "Honestly," Daniel exhaled, "lighter than I've felt in years." "Same," Karen admitted. "Strange, isn't it? Losing everything and feeling relieved." "Not everything," Daniel said. "Just the parts that were never real." Months passed. The case built steadily. Whitfield's team traced every shell account, every falsified invoice, every dollar meant for children who never saw a cent of it. Richard's lawyers tried every angle. None of it held against the recording, the documents, and 2 witnesses who refused to back down. At the sentencing hearing, Daniel sat beside Karen in the second row. Richard, gray and diminished in a county jumpsuit, avoided both their eyes as the judge read the charges: wire fraud, embezzlement from a nonprofit, conspiracy. 12 years, full restitution ordered to the orphan homes, funded through asset forfeiture. Outside the courthouse, a reporter stopped Daniel and Karen on the steps. "Mr. Reyes, Mrs. Colton, you've been seen together at several hearings now. Is there anything more to your story?" Daniel looked at Karen. She almost smiled. "There's a lot more," Daniel said, "but it's not about them anymore." Melissa's trial came separately. 6 months later, she avoided the harshest charges. Cooperation with prosecutors bought her that much, but not the public wreckage. A guilty plea for her role in the falsified documents, probation, a permanent record, a name she could no longer use to get hired anywhere near finance or nonprofit work again. The foundation's new board publicly severed every tie to her. Daniel didn't attend her sentencing. He didn't need to see it to know it was over. Richard's 12 years began at a federal facility upstate. The restitution order slowly rebuilt what he'd drained. New roofs, real renovations, actual funding reaching the orphan homes for the first time in years. Small justice, but real. Daniel and Karen didn't rush anything. Coffee turned into dinners. Dinners turned into long walks where neither of them talked about Richard or Melissa at all. Just books, work, the ordinary things 2 people talk about when they're finally allowed to just be people again. A year after the gala, Daniel proposed on the same quiet street where Karen had first knocked on his door, with a folder full of proof. "You're sure?" she asked, only half joking. "Given our track record with marriage?" "I'm sure," Daniel said, "because this time there's nothing hidden between us. No accounts, no secrets, just this." They married in the spring. Small, 20 guests. No press, no stage. Karen wore no veil. She said she was done with anything that hid a face. At the small reception afterward, Daniel raised his glass. "A year ago, I found a hotel receipt in a coat pocket," he said, "and thought my biggest problem was betrayal. Turns out it was just the first thread. Pulling it apart cost me everything I thought I had." He looked at Karen, "and gave me everything I actually wanted. No hidden phones, no hidden money, no secrets left folded in anyone's pocket. Just the truth, finally, sitting in the open where it belonged."